Hi, money magicians. How are you? So, welcome to the Money Magic Podcast. I'm so excited to have you guys here. If you've just joined us and you don't know who I am, my name is Vangile Makwakwa. I am the founder of Wealthy Money, and I help women of color heal ancestral money trauma so that they can fall in love with their bank accounts, increase income, and live their best lives. I am also the author of Heart, Mind, and Money, Using Emotional Intelligence for Financial Success, and the founder of Wealthy Money. So the way that this podcast started was by interviewing my Money Magic students and my clients. This is why it's called the Money Magic Podcast. And today we have another Money Magic student with us, Tabita. Welcome, Tabita.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Ben. Such an honor and privilege to be here today. Thank you for inviting me. Thanks.
Yeah, thank you for coming through. So, wow, for coming through, you're going to be sharing with us your insights around money and your money story and your shifts. Really, really appreciate this. So before we even start, who are you as a person? How do you define yourself and what do you do?
All right. So Tabita Ntuli, my maiden surname is Mahlangeni. I was born and bred in the Eastern Cape, Mdantsane. I'm the firstborn of 6, and I'm a mother of 3. I have 2 boys and a girl in between. I live in Pretoria, Centurion, and I define myself as I am that curious. I'm curious fundamentally at the core of my being. I'm a very curious person, and I am a truth seeker, and that has come true in my older years. Though I never used to identify as such, but I think embracing all of me with age and wisdom, I have accepted that I am one of those people who really are looking for something out there, and I'm still pursuing my purpose. I'm looking for it. I want to believe that every day unravels that purpose, and someone might be able to tell me, this is what it's all been about, because I live it every day. I don't see it as a destiny. I see it as a journey, and I am. Professionally, I am a social worker by background. I have deep love and concern and about community development. At the heart of myself, looking at me at a professional level, I'm a community development worker, really. I care about our society. I care about the moral fiber of our society. I care about the norms and the values that exist there, and culture and things that have to change. I care about the state of affairs when it comes to our young people. So in my professional space, I work with adults and everybody, but I have special love for young people, especially young women. And I think if we are able to invest in our young people today, we might really retire comfortably and know that our livelihoods are in good hands as a people. We will be leaded and guided, and I take it upon myself because I believe one family at a time, then one family at a time. Let's change things that don't make sense and question them one family at a time. Looking at it as a South Africa might be overwhelming, but if you are that change within your family space, within the things you engage in, within how you live your life, really, it makes all the difference, because your children are looking to you. People are watching you, and especially with our children, they do what we do. They don't do what we say. So yes, that's who I am. I work in development, and my work is really around helping South Africa and civil society and communities to navigate the AIDS response. So I am one of those frontliners back in 2003, 2004, when we first rolled out on ARVs. That's why I am so triggered with the current state of affairs with the COVID vaccine and the debate going on, because for people like myself, it has taken us back to 2003, back to 2004, even earlier, when we were grappling with HIV back then and what it was and what it was not, and the fake news. I thought that was horrible. When then COVID hit, I asked myself, why am I living through two pandemics? Because this one and the fake news and the social media presence has literally changed the game. And some people like myself are really, really triggered. Really triggered.
So people, I guess in the early 2000s, people didn't want to take ARVs. Did they also have like the same kind? Oh, this is fascinating. So they had the same kind of reaction to ARVs as they had to the vaccine right now.
Yeah, what happened in 2000, before 2003, because 2003, the government, you remember then we had what we call AIDS denialism, right? We had a government in South Africa that denied that there were AIDS, there is AIDS, that HIV causes AIDS. There was scientists backing a president that was in denial of AIDS in this country. And it was through activism that we were able to give our people ARVs. So it was not even a manner of South Africans not wanting ARVs in the beginning. It was a manner of denying HIV at a political level, which was big, it was really big. And then it was a big achievement when we were able to roll out ARVs for South Africans. And Gauteng was the first province to roll out back in 2004. I was a young professional back then, and I was helping the health sector to be able to do the proper counseling because of the background I have in social work. So we were paired. We were what we were called counselor advisor, nurse advisor, doctor advisor. So we were paired with the staff that was rolling out the treatment.
So you have a counseling background.
Yes. Yes.
Oh, that's beautiful, Tabita. Yeah, like the course does attract psychologists, counselors, therapists.
Carers. It attracts carers.
It attracts carers and healers at its core, right? Doctors and nurses, I understand. But sorry to interrupt. So there was all this. So you guys were pegged with doctors and everything, and did you have to educate the people?
Yes. So we had to educate the people. And you must remember, this part is what was happening behind the scenes from a professional point of view, in terms of service delivery and healthcare. This is what was happening, right? And also remember, back in 2004, our medical doctors were graduating without, earlier than 2004, our medical doctors were graduating without the HIV theory, diplomas, and those modules. So I remember vets had to come to develop that module, and doctors were coming in to do the diploma in HIV. And there was a robust uptake of that because we had to prepare our medical fraternity really to be able to take care of people that were enrolling on treatment. And that was our form of biomedically intervening in the AIDS response, right? And that's one side. Then the other side was communities, the recipients, the beneficiaries, and the activists, my people, because I am an activist as well. I am a human rights defender. I do speak out against things that don't make sense. So that side too, activists brought us ARVs, and we can never take that away from them. And then government, the denialism around HIV was fought with activists, because at the heart of denying people treatment, you were actually infringing on their human rights. And then there was an arm of fake news, which was also meddling with human rights, right? But how we overcame that was when we had this very
fake news before social media was even a thing. It's always been a thing, I guess.
Yes. And then we had very strong soldiers in the activism space who were eager to learn and understand how ARVs worked. First, understand the virus and how it interacted with their bodies. These were not medical people. They were community people. They were activists. And they understood precisely. You could never argue with an activist that comes from that generation about what is going on in their bodies. Never. They knew precisely at a cellular level, they know precisely what ARVs can do in their bodies, everything that has to do with the biology in terms of what changes in your body, who do you become biologically when you're taking ARVs. And those were the soldiers that taught communities on ARV treatment.
Oh,
right?
My goodness.
So we come from that space where activism really brought us ARVs in this country. There is no denial about that. And then the activism space as well, and supported by
But were the
partners.
doctors as opposed to ARVs then as they were to some doctors are opposed to the vaccine now?
Well, I don't think we had much of that opposition in our faces like we do now. So
yeah, right? Because now there's
Yeah.
such a split.
Yes.
Sure.
What I saw then was we wanted, because we had a lot of death.
Yeah.
Denialism brought us death.
But
People
this
die.
is happening right now too, right,
Yes,
Tabita?
yes.
And I almost wonder if denialism is a form of coping for human beings, that when there's this deep trauma happening and we are faced with our own mortality, almost a huge part of it is to fight this mortality and to say, no, I will not succumb to death. So instead, so it's hard for us to accept because it's so traumatic to accept our own humanity and our own vulnerability and our own mortality.
Yes. And again, it doesn't, much as it is difficult, then it doesn't help us much then when you have people whispering in your ears things that they can't prove, fake news, because we had fake news back then. Can you believe that, grapefruit? Can you believe that back in the day there was fake news around grapefruit, and they said grapefruit was injected with HIV. People must not eat grapefruit.
I actually remember that.
Do you
I
remember
was
that?
in primary school. I remember that fake news. For us, it was oranges. I remember very clearly being in primary school. And I have a crazy story around this that I don't think it's fake news. So you have to hear my story, guys. I hope it doesn't gross anyone out, but true story. My sister and my friends were playing around with oranges, right? So instead of eating the oranges, we take them out of the sack. We start throwing them around as kids. We're like not eating the oranges. So we're like playing a game with it. This orange starts to leak red. We go and we open it up and there's literally like something injected in the orange. So from that day forth in my family, we cut up oranges. You weren't, like when you would squeeze them. Till this day, it's hard for me to eat an orange or any kind of citrus fruit and just like suck it. But that has been my experience. So I don't know how fake that was, but I had that experience. So I may be the only person that had that experience. And my sister and my friends, we all remember it. And it just, my relationship with oranges that I don't pick from a tree or that are not given to me from someone that I know picked from a tree, it's a very, very faulty. And luckily we actually grow oranges in the village. I think that incident of us growing oranges at my mom's place, and grapefruit and lemon all started there. And so we started growing, like we have citrus fruit everywhere in the village. Like we've got so many citrus fruit trees. So that was an experience. And we took it to my grandmother, and my grandmother saved it for all the adults so that everybody in the village could be equally traumatized. So very, very crazy story, right? What are the chances? So fake news, not fake news. One experience doesn't necessarily make it all the experiences in the world,
Yes.
Yeah.
And I think at the heart of it, you must really be mindful and understand for ourselves when we are infringing on other people's human rights.
Yes.
It's so important, because HIV, right at the beginning, it was about human rights. It's a human rights disease. It was always about human rights, because when you tell me I can't take ARVs because you believe or you dreamt or something this and that. You have already infringed on my independence to think for myself and make a decision for myself, right?
Yeah,
and I think
I didn't know there was so much, to be honest, I didn't know there was so much political stuff around ARVs. Yeah, like I thought I knew a lot about what happened in different spaces, and especially within the HIV/AIDS space, growing up in South Africa, all that, and growing up with parents that are medical professionals. I didn't, but like for some reason, as you're talking, I'm just like, I had no clue. And it's starting to help me understand why so many doctors talk about people defaulting, especially in South Africa, right? Wow. And I do think it's part of the denialism, right? It's that like, it's a constant having to, I guess, like if you're taking the pill, then you can't, then you can't really deny that this is in your face, right? That this is something that you're struggling with right now. And I think that may be the thing with the vaccine as well, is that many people don't want to face that, right? And so, but I also think, so here's the other thing with the vaccine, and I think also it may also apply to the ARV space, is that a lot of Black people are really scared of big pharma, right? Because of how the medical industry has actively experimented on Black and brown bodies without our knowledge, right? So there is that actual deep fear. And I think that for that not to be addressed is a fallacy, because governments globally are refusing to address that. And I'm just like, that needs to be addressed if you want people to trust the vaccine. You know, because a lot of us, this is the thing, we carry that trauma, we carry that secondary trauma, the vicarious trauma, we carry a lot of that generational trauma. It's, I think this is such a complex issue. For me, I can see what happens with big pharma, because it is a complicated issue. Even for me to eventually decide to take the vaccine, it took a lot of like sitting with the fear, going into it. My biggest fear wasn't around like it will change your genetic makeup. My biggest fear is, what if they're experimenting on us? You know, what are all these things? So, and like I always say to people, I won't argue with someone that doesn't want to take the vaccine, because I myself am still like, Tuskegee, I'm not sure what's going to happen in another 2 years, what's going to come up, you know, in terms of side effects or anything, you know? So it's such a delicate balance, because I think that the systems that our medical system has done so much to erode trust with people. And I feel like the movements that we're seeing against the vaccine are actually highlighting that lack of trust, right? And that is really the core issue, is that people are saying, we do not trust you, and governments are not listening, instead of understanding, where's this lack of trust coming from, and how do we rebuild trust with people?
Yes. And I'll tell you a short story on the trust. So, because we had trust issues with ARVs too, we had trust issues with HIV prevention clinical trials, because that's where I spent a good part of my career life at as well, doing HIV prevention clinical trials, working as a community support manager, I always worked on the community side of things. So when communities came and said, you want to do a clinical trial, what does that mean? We don't trust you. Do you know how hard we worked? We worked so hard such that all material was translated in vernacular. We came in and we would pull up banners in a vernacular language, and it was done so respectfully. I remember I worked in KZN. And Gauteng and the Northwest provinces in the clinical trial spaces. So when I worked in KZN, isiZulu sam, I'm Xhosa. So isiZulu, in my Zulu is good, because I'm married to a Zulu man, right? And I spent a good bulk of my life there. But my accent has not changed. I still speak IsiZulu with my Xhosa accent, right?
Yeah.
And I understood that in KZN, people were then mesmerized with the accent, and they wanted to correct the accent.
They're like, we hear you, we hear you. Please, can we just start?
Yes. So they wanted to fix that. And then I thought, okay, the respect to this concern, which was not actually laid out as a concern, was for me to allow for my colleagues who are Zulu speaking to do this, because we want to get the message across. We don't want people rushing in decision making. We wanted people to understand it in their vernacular, to go home and think and come back and ask some more questions. Whatever it takes, people had to enter that space with some level of comfort. You know, it was never always around 100%, of course, but we really had respect in the dignity of people, and we had to understand that, okay.
See, and I feel like that needs to be done even now with vaccines. Like, I think, Hugh, like, as I'm watching all this, I'm like, these are trauma responses, all the things that the world is telling the medical industry, telling our governments, telling big pharma, there is a breakdown in trust. This is an issue. Like, they have not done anything to repair that trust. And what you guys did was you established that trust, and people trusted you, and then they move forward. Because it's also like the human body is all we've got, you know? It's literally all we've got. So even me, like, I won't lie, like, I've taken this thing and I'm like, we'll see side effects in another 2 years or so, you know? But I'm still like, you know, I'm also not fully, I got where I got to when I decided to take the vaccine, because I got to a level of trust. I did my research, I asked questions, and I was like, but I still have that 5% of me that is like, not trusting. But I did enough research. I had to go do my own research, my own to get to that level. But the truth is that, again, we have tons of evidence that where, especially with people of color, with Black and brown bodies, where this trust has been completely eroded. So I always say, like, it's different when people are being anti-vax, because they are anti-vax because they believe that the vaccine will change their DNA, etc., to people like myself who are very hesitant and who are still hesitant. I wouldn't call these people anti-vax. I would say these people have a legitimate reason to say, we do not trust the medical industry. We don't trust whatever you bring out. And because we are Black or brown, we have experience and we carry this trauma, and it makes us scared. So there are two different factions right now within this vaccine movement. And I think that they have to be addressed. One is about informing and information, etc. The other, it's like centuries of just abuse and being violated, right? I don't know what we do about this, because it is very, very relevant. This is especially with Black and brown bodies. So the medical industry has done a lot to us as these people, as melanated people, and it has to be acknowledged.
Yeah, absolutely, Ben. I wouldn't disagree with you there at all, and especially because I'm listening to you and I'm going back in memory, because I even want to talk about the how we got to embrace traditional practitioners, traditional leadership, traditional practitioners in the AIDS response work, because and it was not easy. I mean, they were not offered a chair in the table. There was a whole lot of lobbying that had happened there, and I think what dawned in the minds of the principals, of the politicians, is that actually, you know what, as we were doing the work, we understood that actually people are consulting the traditional people. So we can't run away from that fact. It's a fact, and we have to respect that. But now, how do we come together and work towards assisting Tabita? We had to negotiate that. It took a lot of sweat, blood, to come to a place where we're like, okay, if Tabita is a patient, Tabita, if she's sick, the first point of healthcare contact will be with her traditional healer.
Exactly. And I feel like this is what a lot of people are missing right now. The first point of contact in most countries is Ayurvedic doctors. It's your healers on social media. It's your sangomas that people go to more than anything, even if it's all for COVID. You know, I'm like, why? Because they built up that trust with these people, right?
I mean,
there's a lot there. So for me, I had to do a lot of unpacking for myself. You know, I had to do my own inner work and my own unpacking on this, and sat down with my sister. We spoke about it. There was a lot of back and forth. So I feel, again, like I said, I do think that there's two different movements, you know, around vaccinations, and both these movements have to be addressed. But Tabita, let's head on to the money conversation. And I'm very like, guys, feel free to comment on this, right? Because we are in the midst of a global pandemic and a trauma, and we're discussing two very traumatic incidents right now. There's the HIV pandemic that happened, where people wouldn't take medication. And now there's COVID, the same kind of pandemic, and people are triggered in the same way as before. And I want us to acknowledge that. And I want us to acknowledge the trauma that's coming up there. And Tabita, I hope that you, as I ask these questions and I ask about how you dealt with that trauma, like how you're dealing with these triggers, you're able to help us. Okay, so maybe let's start with that question. How have you been dealing with these triggers? Because it is extremely triggering. So what are you doing on a daily basis to keep yourself together? Like, I don't know if there's even a better word for that, you know, to just hold it together, to not scream, to not lose it. How do you deal?
I think what is most important is which is also what I've learned being a student, a wealthy money student, is the fact that not running away from it. So I sit with it. I get so angry. I get so triggered. I watch my colleagues asking crazy, silly questions. I judge it. I won't lie. I judge it a lot. To say, how the hell can you ask such a thing on social media when you could go and research and find out? Because it's a biomedical intervention. Go and check with the people that create the vaccines, and don't say those things on social media. We are already, there's just a lot going on. So I get angry. I acknowledge my anger. I acknowledge the feelings that I have. And also, since I became a student, I'm also a student. I'm a student in meditation. So I have and appreciated the importance of breathing. So literally, I used to think this is what the heck, breathing is breathing.
Right, like everyone breathes. That's what one of my clients said to me. She was like, when you first started having me do breath work, and I have one client where all we did was just anapana, not even proper breathing, not even like the breath work in the meditations. And I was just like, for 1 hour in our coaching session, I just said, just had him breathe in and out through his nose. He was like, not even through his mouth, no sounding out. I was just like, we're just gonna focus on your breath. He was like, dude, everyone breathes. What's this gonna do to me? He is so like obsessed now with just basic anapana meditation.
Yes.
He's just like, this changed my life. I was like,
it really is. It changes your life, because when you are breathing, you're acknowledging it, and then it resonates when you say, feel in your body. Where does it sound it out? I'm like, okay. I'll do all of this because I need to survive this moment, right? So I do a lot of that, and I'm conscious. I'm conscious about, and again, like you said, we must really understand and acknowledge the trauma of our people. So I really do. I do. And to a point that I was last week, I took my car in for service, right? And then you know how they put you in one car when they drop you off. So they put me in one car with this couple, and the driver starts a conversation about the vaccine. And I'm like, okay, Tabita, you're gonna keep quiet, okay? You're not gonna say anything. And the couple is agreeing that no, we're not gonna vaccinate, and they're giving all these reasons and so on and so forth. And I'm like, but something is burning in me. I want to speak, but I don't know if it will end well. I don't know if it will end well. So guess what?
I love your passion.
I know, and then I'm like, so I asked, so do you have children? And he says to me, yes, because I didn't know how much long we had in the car, right? And then he said to me, yes, I do. And I'm like, do you also, if anything happened to you, God forbid, your family will look after your children, right? No, I don't get along with one brother. And he goes on and on about his brother. And then I said, so God forbid again, if you have COVID and it takes you away, and the brother that you dislike takes care of your children and inherits all of your wealth. This man went stone cold. I know that was not the best thing to say. It was not even the right thing to say. But I felt, okay, if I don't say anything, it's gonna even eat at me some more. I know I used shock there, but I wanted them to think about something. And I hope them leaving, because 5 minutes later they were out of the car. I want to spark curiosity. Go find out. Don't tell me about what Twitter is saying. Don't tell me about what the communities on Facebook are saying. Go read. This is a biomedical intervention. It requires specific knowledge background. Go read. Acknowledge your thoughts and the misconceptions. So that's the other thing I do. I don't say a whole lot. I just speak when I'm pressed to speak. But but I try to preserve myself then. And I think this is what this space has taught me as well, to say, please preserve yourself, because these things are taxing. You are spending energy when you speak. And because I'm an activist at heart, so sometimes I say something nice, but how it's coming out is not nice. But if you listen to the words alone, they're beautiful, they're loving, but it's the manner in which it is delivered. So I'm like, Tabita, say little, preserve yourself, and just give information when you are required to or asked to, and just leave it to people to make decisions. I think that is the kind of maturity also that has come with being in this space and truly understanding people.
Yeah, I love what you're speaking about, the importance of self-preservation, right? Like I think what I've learned during the pandemic, I think what the work has taught me is that I'm exhausted. We are all exhausted, right? So at first I wanted to respond to everything and be like, do this, do that. Oh my gosh, when you're anxious around COVID, do this. And all I could do was to say, I'm just going to show up and give the resources that I can, the free resources that I can, hold space where I can, if it's free. And then the rest I'm going to give to people that are my clients and my students. But I also need to work on myself, because I noticed that I'm exhausted, right? Like everything is exhausting. So I had to learn to pull back, not be on social media all the time. I had to learn to sit in my body, to breathe, to work out, to keep taking care of myself. And I was like, this is it. This is fine. Like if all I do is keep doing this and keep showing up and keep supporting to the best of my ability, I no longer I used to feel like I need to give my opinion and share certain things when there's like abusers out there, like do the most. And I think what the pandemic taught me was, how do I look after myself? how do I self-care? And guys, sorry if you're hearing that little noise out there. The weird noise is I do not know the English word for these birds. People keep telling me the English word. I keep forgetting. Amantarantara.
Yeah.
Like I do not like. One of my friends told me just last week what the English word is. It just refuses to stick in my head all these years. Like I can only know the Zulu word, right? Yeah, so I really, really love what you've said about the self-preservation. But before we even dig deeper into your money story, what does money mean to you, and how would you describe money to an alien?
For me, money is I have a basic interpretation to it. It's a form of, it's what I use to transact, but more than that, it is power. It holds a lot of power that can get me anything I want and need. It is a source of negotiation. I believe you can even negotiate your life with money. That's how powerful it is. I am completely in acknowledgement of the power of money. I see it as this very, very powerful source that can literally take you to the places you want to go to, be who you want to be. It buys you almost everything. Even buys you respect of others, because when you see people with money, people tend to think differently around people with money, and you are addressed by your title, and it comes with a whole lot of those superficial perks.
This is unfortunately true.
Yeah, those superficial. It buys you respect where you have not even earned it.
Yeah. So
I see it
unearned respect.
Yes. Yeah. It buys you that. It buys you a table in a seat. A seat in a table you don't deserve, where you could literally become absolutely disruptive in that table, but money will get you there. It will get you there. But also money will.
I love that.
Money will secure. It gives a strong sense of security. For me, when I have money, I am at peace. I'm peaceful inside, like inside.
Meanwhile, in the money magic course, I'm trying to teach you guys to be at peace with or without money. But I get it. There is a greater peace when you have money.
Greater peace. Money gives
greater peace.
Let me tell you about my late grandfather. Bless his soul. My grandfather loved money unapologetically.
Oh my gosh.
He had the same skin tone like me, or maybe a shade lighter. But when my grandfather had money, then if you gave him like hardcore cash in his hand on a cold -0-degree day, my grandfather would literally illuminate. I'm not joking. He would be so light-skinned and he would sweat, and you could see peace in his eyes.
You could see peace in his eyes.
I was not aware until I joined the Wealthy Money course. I was not aware that my grandfather actually is the very first teacher I had that taught me without saying anything. That actually, you see, my grandchild, money is peace. Money.
Oh my God, this is classic. I love it. So then did your grandfather ever come up as your spirit of money guide or any of your guides in the course? I'm just really interested in the meditation.
Yes.
Oh, wow.
He didn't come in the first meditations, my first meditation sessions. He came.
Because you probably weren't there with money yet, right? You were still like deep in the trenches, and he was like, no, as an ancestor, this is not, I don't know this. I don't understand this blockage to money and not love of money. I'll come when she's open to it.
He came later, like a few months ago, to be precise. He only came a few months ago. I've been in the Wealthy Money course for a year to August. I think I joined on the 29th of August. So he only came 3 months or 4 months ago.
Wow. So you joined the course when? Remind me, Tabita. Was it in 2020 or 2019?
In last year, August.
Oh, in 2020. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Wow.
Yes.
Wow, that is so, so fascinating. So when did you start suspecting? I guess like your grandfather helped you realize that it's okay to love money. But when did you start suspecting that, hi man, it's actually not about budgeting and all the things that we're taught, that there's more to money than just budgeting and spending less?
Yes. So it started when I was trying to recall actually then when I even ever heard your name. I think it was 2018. I'm really convinced that I was talking to Azola about something and your name came up, and then she said something that made me look you up, and I subscribed. I can't remember really the content of our conversation. And then I started getting those emails. So when I looked at your emails, they were talking about you traveling. And I thought, well, wait, I'm not about traveling. It didn't resonate with any
I don't know
money.
why everyone only picks that up from the emails. I feel like I send out such incredible emails around trauma and money, but like, obviously, usually when I send out the email, my first line is like, hello from Thailand, hello from Bali, hello from this. Like,
Yes. And we stop there then. We hear hello from Thailand and we see the beautiful picture. And we're like, girl, you want to sell me my future? Wait, hang on. I'm not there yet. I'll get money. I'll travel. I'll get to you. So it's not even going into the email itself and reading. It's that gorgeous picture of you in some with the background, the sea background. I'm like, she's living her life this one. But so it,
oh my gosh, I wonder if I should stop posting this, if I should stop telling people where I am in the world when I send out emails, because clearly it's a distraction to the teachings.
No, don't stop. And for me, when I realized that it was much more deeper is when I listened, because before I joined the course, I really wrote on the free videos, right? So you had 2 videos that resonated with me. You were interviewing one, I think you interviewed Polite, and then the other one you interviewed Putanang.
Yes.
And I think it was Putanang who shared a story about fibroids and
yes, it was Putanang.
And I stopped. Like, I think I've listened to that video 4 or 5 times.
Wow.
In Polite's video, I think I've listened to it I listened to the videos more than once, because at first the meaning is too overwhelming, and I have to sit it in and marinate in the information, and then I go back again and I would listen to the video. I was not a student then. So Putana was talking about how she had pain and she was on the side of the road. She went to see a gynae and so on and so forth. And a penny dropped, because I have 3 children, right? I told you. And when I was pregnant with number 3, my gynae told me that there is a growth in my womb, but the growth was not disrupting the pregnancy. So he would observe it. We leave it alone. We let the baby grow. We leave the growth alone, because it was not interfering, right? And this was about 5 or 6 months of pregnancy with Ayabusa, my last child. And then we had a conversation about what is ukvalinzalo in English? Yeah, that I've forgotten now.
English like a hysterectomy.
Yes. Yeah. So we were talking about that, and I thought, okay, let me have the baby. Let me sit with this thinking for another 6 months, and then I'll come back and do what needs to be done. And then
the medical profession is so fast to recommend hysterectomies. Hey,
I know.
Sorry guys, this is just me. Like, one day I will interview Jane about how my mother, she shared in the retreats, like Jane of James Chile, That's how I met her, because my mother, she shared at the retreats how my mother helped her with her womb. She was months away from getting a hysterectomy. And my mother was like, don't go, like, I can help you. So guys, my mom is like the ultimate wounded healer in terms of like, she just knows how to heal almost any, I'd say almost any like physical thing. Like she's known in the village, you know, she's great with herbs. She can sense, like Jane tells the story how she was walking down the road and my mother was like, just stopped her and said, there's something wrong with you and I can heal you. And she was like, how did you know? You know? But like, obviously my mom is extremely problematic, especially for me as my mother. Like I've shared on this podcast how she's extremely abusive, but she's also like this incredible, I'll give her that, right? Like she is incredible as a healer. Even me, when I face issues, I'm always like, heal me, you know, like any physical ailments. Yeah, but sorry, sorry to go on that tangent, but my whole point was to say, this was 3 years ago. Jane went back to the doctors after whatever, my mom healed her. And my mom asked for 50 Rand. By the way, guys, that was like that's like $3. Another story for another day. She just wanted the energy exchange, right? And so like, the doctors were like, oh, we must have misdiagnosed this. You don't need a hysterectomy anymore, because not everything requires surgery. Some things are very much about to heal the body. It's emotional, it's food, it's herbs, it's medicine, right? There's other things, and food is medicine, herbs are medicine, all that. And like I said, I grew up with a mom who was a nurse, but also a healer. So like I grew up learning that food is medicine, herbs are medicine. And this is why, like for me, this is why I'm vegan. I eat the way I do, because this is how I was brought up most times, you know, most of the time, except for the meat part. Like my mom was all about, let's eat chicken, you know, but yeah. But you can heal the body. Sometimes it's to the extreme where you do need surgery, you do need hysterectomies, right? But yeah, sorry, Tabita, to interrupt. I just wanted to.
Absolutely, I agree. So 6 months later, Tembis and I decided, okay, fine. We want to close the shop now. I don't want any more children. I'm done having children. So I'm going to go for this. I go consult my gynae, and he says to me, remember the growth we spoke about when you were 6 months pregnant? And I mean, this is now in last year was 2020, 2019. He says that growth now is the size of a tennis ball. So when we do the op, we may as well take out the growth. And I said, okay, fine. But so we did that procedure, I came out, I healed. But when I was listening to Putanang, I went back to that memory, because when I was conversing with my doctor, he told me that, well, this is normal. You know how they like normalizing abnormal things. It's normal. It's normal. It happens with women of your age, and also being a certain age, like it's some kind of a curse, as if you're in your 40s, some things are not supposed to happen with you. Your reproductive health is really, like a past thing. It does not matter much, or all of these anomalies must be expected as you age, which some of us have proven differently, because I had my second child at 36. I had my last child at 39. I have a friend who had a first child at 50. So they say these things.
Wow, your friend had a first child at 50.
Yes, 50.
Yeah, just Pamela's been saying, she's like to me, don't worry about your biological clock. When you're ready to give birth, come to me. This is what acupuncture is for. This is what I do. I'm like, okay.
Yes, my friend had number 1 at 50. Number 1 is now 11, and she is 60, turning 61 later in the year.
No way.
Beautiful, absolutely. And I think there's this, children stop us aging. You know, you don't, because when I look at them, the mother doesn't look 50, 60. The child looks like she looks like she's in her 30s, and this boy is just growing along.
Oh, that is so beautiful. But you also know what they say about Black women. So,
We don't crack, my dear. It's very
we
true.
don't crack.
So I
Oh,
thought
this is
about
such
this.
a beautiful story. Thank you for giving. I mean, like, I've been so unbothered because so many healers globally, even in Thailand, healers are like, sis, don't worry about your biological clock. When you're ready and if you get into your 40s and you don't, like when you finish your 30s and you don't have a baby, come to us. In your 40s, you're good. I've been like,
Yes,
this is what people do, like
yes.
it's not a train smash.
It's just a number. You just look after your body well and you'll have that child at 50 if you want them at 50. They'll come beautifully. Bouncy, beautiful babies. Don't worry about
Oh my gosh, I love this.
that. So, he was saying, he was normalizing this growth. And then he said something like, and I said, when I asked him, where did it come from? And he said, you were born with it. And that's what made me stop in my tracks to think about it. So if I was born with a growth and it sat with me and never disrupted
Grew.
it never grew, it never disrupted any of my pregnancies. What the hell does this mean? Right? And for it now to show up, because I want to believe I've had very good guidance throughout my pregnancies. Why did the other two not pick up this growth? And this doctor picked it up. Well, it was what it was. So I was listening to Putanai, and then I was translating what she was saying to what was happening in my career too at the time. Usually I would move within the ranks 2 years, maximum 3 years. I would be at the next level. But yeah, I was not moving. Like I was not shifting. And it became a toil to move within the ranks, right? And I started thinking about all the things that don't make sense, that I've sort of assumed they made sense. So there was that part in my career where I wasn't seeing any progression, in terms of ranks. And also looking at how we even bought our house. There was a time when the banks were saying, we can't find your employer, so we're not going to give you a loan. I'm like, I work for an international organization. How are you not able to find my employer? It took 9 months, Vangile. The house that we live in, is the only house that my husband and I agreed to purchase, because he was about certain things, certain specs. I want this and I want that and I want that. Me, I just wanted a home. I wanted a beautiful home. That's all.
Thank God your husband is discerning, right? Because then you would, like, where you were, you would have just taken anything. But thank God there was someone that's like, I want this, I want this, I want this.
Yes. At some point we were not even talking because I was so angry that what is wrong with you? Can we just not buy a house and fix it? These things can be bought. We can buy a house and do all this. And he was like, nope, I want those things ready, and then we can fix other things. They will be minor, but these things will cost us a lot of money to start in the new home. So I tagged along and we agreed, and finally we saw this house. And then the bank told us the story of, we can't find you, your company does not exist. I was like, how is that even possible? How is this possible? It seemed when they were doing the checks in terms of your employment, my employer was non-existent, right?
Yeah.
And it stalled the process. And there was a time when we thought, okay, we'll start from scratch at some point. It's not what we want to do, but the only house we agreed on, and now the bank is giving us a story. But we can't. And one fateful day, an estate agent called us to say, you remember that house? It's still available. It's on the market. That's now 8 months down the line, 8 months.
Sure.
And we said, okay, let's try again with the bank. And it came through. And we were able to purchase the home. So even that struggle then, I wasn't used to that. I started asking whys. Why did it take so long? Why am I going through all of this? Why does everything seem like a struggle? Why?
Yeah, like, why is everything now stagnating, Why is everything taking so long to come to me?
And I was praying. I mean, I come from a Christian background. My God, I was praying.
I'm glad that you said that, because some people will probably think she wasn't praying hard enough. Meanwhile, oh my gosh.
I fasted.
So interesting.
I fasted. I prayed in tongues. I did all the things. It was just not happening.
I always say people do that. Eh? Like when I used to do my fast, people would be like, my juice fast, my 10-day fast, or my 21-day fast. People would be like, what are you tying? Like, what are you fasting for? And I think a lot of people would get disappointed, because I'm like, oh, I'm just doing a 21-day fast just to cleanse my body. I learned then that I was wasting my fast. You know? That you must tie your fast to something. But also, in all fairness to me, I didn't grow up in a Christian background, right? In a religious background. So I don't know that like you tie fast to an intention. So to me, it was like, oh, 10-day juice fast with my friends, or 21-day grape fast. Like it was just an experiment to see what would happen in my body, you know?
But yeah, no. You fast for certain things. And I had done all of that really. And you know, there's a I think it's a scripture where it says, if you want God to do something bigger or better, you have to do things that you have not done before. Maybe I'm making it up, but I learned this in church. So I thought, I have not prayed like this. This is a special way that I'm praying, and this is a special way I'm interacting. I'm really trying to do things right, but things are not coming forth. I'm struggling.
I'm sorry, Tabita. I'm laughing because remember my story that I shared in the student group with the 10-hour chanting sessions that I used to host to have my financial breakthrough, where we chant for 10 hours, you guys, and nothing would move for me either. So I get it.
No, nothing moved. Nothing moved then. Nothing happened until then. I was listening to the videos and I thought, maybe this do something you've never done before is this. It is this. So I'm coming. So I was like onto your videos, literally all the time. Listening to your videos, watching these women. Because remember, I mean, I have my own stereotypes and my own judgments in my head. I'm like, okay, let's see if these women look like me first.
Yeah.
Let's see if there's anything I resonate with them too. And you see if it feels. I was even judging comfortability by just looking at the video, watching the videos to say, okay,
oh my goodness.
It is that crazy. The stereotypes and the societal norms run that deep in how we live our daily lives, really.
Oh, wow. So you wanted to see if the people looked like you. What is it that you're trying to get to? Like, I'm very fascinated.
So you have accountants in the class. You have professional people. I'm like, these things.
Oh my gosh. You intellectuals, the intellectuals of South Africa. Oh my gosh, I forgot that you guys are like that. Ooh, okay, so if there's a doctor, I'm sure Mizo's episode was a tick for you. A doctor,
you know?
Butanang, chartered accountant, another tick.
Yes.
All these people, you're like, yeah, I can roll with those people. They're talking economics degree, widely, tick.
And here is the cherry on top. Van has an MBA, so it works. I'm coming. She has an MBA. She's educated. I'm coming. Okay. She's not some people. She's the girl that has an MBA.
You know, I never ever mentioned my MBA. Like I always forget that I have a finance degree. I've got an MBA. But I should mention it for people like you, right? Because people like, yeah.
So shallow, man. So shallow. It's really so shallow. But that's where we have come from, you know. So, and I thought, okay, I will continue listening in the videos because these are normal people. And the stories resonate, and I could critique myself and say, hey, but maybe even the fact that I'm an impulsive buyer because we sort of put frills and make bad things look good. Retail therapy, So
right, like maybe these people are being paid by me to come on these videos to say things, who knows?
you know. No,
Like,
but the stories are too real. I resonated with them. I could see myself behaving that way. So I thought, no, there's something going
yeah,
on
no,
here.
these people are not paid. I think that's the thing. People say to me, no, Van, like I listen to I watch people on video and then I go on their Facebook profile and I'm like, no, these people are real. These are real people.
Yes, yes. And the stories are so real. They speak things you whisper in the corners. I'm like,
Yeah.
how do you lay your laundry like this? You know, this video is on YouTube. The whole world is going to listen to this. Your life is going to change.
I am laughing so much. Oh my gosh. Guys, intellectual snobbery is a real thing in this world. Okay, it is a real thing.
I'm telling you, we will lose out
Like,
on best things
I
in life.
get it. Like, I sometimes do believe that the reason why some people even mess with me in any way or even give me an opportunity is when they learn that I've got an MBA, they like, because at first when people hear ancestral money trauma, they're like, no. It like they shut off to it. And we all have ideas of what ancestral is and all that. And when they hear this, I think it's like, I'm palatable. I become a little easier to digest. You know, okay, when she talks of business, at least we know she has something to back it up.
Yes.
So I always laugh at that because I'm like, yeah, that's so interesting.
That's what we are. Yeah.
Yeah, I hope like my little cousin is listening to this because I'm trying to get him to go back to school and do things. And I told him this, I'm like, this is the unfortunate thing of the world. I know you don't want to finish high school, but just like finish it just to get it out the way and then get the degree to get it out the way. So my sister and I have been sitting down with him and he literally said, you know the story, right? How he's like, you just want to slow me down. School is going to slow me down. But guys, if you're listening to this, it's an unfortunate thing. I love that Tabita is so honest that this is why we get these qualifications, right? Even if I'm not like using them, at least they back that up in a way.
Yeah.
Thank you for being that honest, Tabita. I really, really love that. So now that you're in the course, let's talk about it. Is it like, did I make a good thing look, did I make a bad thing look good? Did the students make a bad thing look good? What have been some of your shifts around finances, around income, savings, debt, all that good stuff?
Yeah. So I know, I think the advertising of the course and how you come across, those were real. That's honest, and that's what I continue to enjoy, and also coming into, and there's more, honestly, because I was one of those. I don't want to take away from the fact that I also at some point thought, I looked at the price of the course, I'm like, Van, I have 3 kids, come on, wait a bit. My son is still in nappies, just hang on a bit. I will join. But then when I was listening, where did I learn it? That, oh no, the price keeps going up. So Tabita, probably this is the cheapest price you'll pay. If you come back in 3 years, you will really not be able to afford it. Okay. So that too, because I remember I think I sent you an email and I had just listened to one of the videos and you advertised the course at the end of that video. And I sent you an email and you were saying to me, it closed, it was a Sunday, I remember precisely. After listening to the video, I dropped you a line to say I would be interested in joining the course. When does it close? And you said tonight. And I thought, who? Oh, I was sorry about that. There was a call there. So I felt, okay, I checked in with a friend. I'm like, girl, because I've been talking to her about you. We've been gossiping about you. I'm like, this girl has really, really gotten into me now. I think I want to do the course. What do you think?
Yeah, guys, if you're listening to this, you're gonna hate me for a while, especially when you find out my pricing, but then you're going to be like, what the hell? Like, I need to be in this, especially you are one of those people whose ancestors are feeling the cost. There's no forgive yourself and forgive your ancestors. Go argue with your ancestors, not me.
You know. So she said to me, she said, enroll. You got the money? I'm like, it's in the piggy bank, girl. That's special money. It's not for those type of things. She said, spend that money, it will be worth your while. I joined the course just like that. Because I could hear you saying it's closing tonight. And I thought, well, now or never. I must do it now. And I don't regret. It's it's the best money I've ever spent on myself, if I want to call it retail shopping. It's the best. Because then, you know what I do? The work is so hard, but it makes me feel so good when I am able to log in and have access. That feels like I have walked into Louis Vuitton and I've grabbed the bag. The access alone and scrolling through everything. I'm like, everything I need to know is here. This is the best thing ever. Even though I will go on to the class slowly, I think I'm one of the slowest with the course because it takes.
Trust me too, hey? Like you guys know, I've been packed at the God wound for weeks now. I'm still within. Like on Monday, I had a meeting with Ritani. She's like, "You're not okay." I'm like, "I'm in the middle of the God wound. It's dealing with me." You know, I'm like, I am there. Like it is dealing with me, and I'm not okay. Like people can see when I'm in the midst of some of the hectic work because you can't rush through it. So we're talking about that. I was like, I can't rush this. I can't rush through it. I'm not in a happy space because of it. But guys, the thing, once you do the work and you're within, the things that have been happening even in the background, you sit and you do it and you're like, because that trauma is really, those blessings were always there. All that we're doing when we're healing is we're now like opening up so that the blessings find us with ease and speed.
Exactly.
That we stop, because the truth is, have you noticed when you do the work, you're like, oh my gosh, I am the block.
Yes.
You know, it's actually not the big thing. It's me.
It's me. Yeah, just do it.
That realization is hard, hey?
It's very hard. No, it takes a lot. I will never, ever downplay or water down the intensity of the course. The work is hard. But I think I always remind myself that I have to do the work. I have to move past feeling like I've just bought a Louis Vuitton bag or a Estee Lauder lipstick. I have to move past that. I sit in the Estee Lauder lipstick feeling for a moment because I'm like, oh, some people who are not in the Money Magic course are grabbing videos on YouTube, mixing information, doing all kinds of things. That's their journey. I don't judge. But I find myself in a privileged space in that it's all there. For me, it's all there.
I keep telling people, because like people will say, but I watched this video, why am I not shifting? I'm like, if you're not in the course, you're getting me intellectually, but you need to experience these things. The shift is in the experience. It has to be experienced. I'm glad that you talk about that. And then people will grab this. Like when I talk of the God wound, I've seen this so often where I talk about the God wound and someone hears about the God wound and then they make assumptions based on what the God wound is. And then they go and they start talking about it on the social media streets. And I'm just like, yeah, that is not the God wound. Right? You think it's about religion. It is one factor, but the God wound is so much more than that. Like I said, I didn't grow up in the religious background, so I don't have deep religious trauma, but I've got my own issues around the divine that have actually nothing to do with religion or even spirituality, but have to do with life lived, you know? Yes. So I think that is so important to note. So Tabita, do you mind telling us what are some shifts? Because I think this is what like gets people so excited. Like what are actual monetary shifts that you saw in your life as you started doing the course?
Yeah. One of my biggest things then was, over and above that, I have 3 kids, a husband, a helper, and a dog. I would use money. I used to be such a impulsive buyer, and it didn't help much that you can buy online. So
yes,
I could wake up then, believe it or not, I would wake up and go online, shop before 8 a.m. And when they deliver 3 days later, I'm like, what? Did I buy that?
Before 8, Sissy, 8 a.m. Before 8 a.m., before the world is awake.
Lala, I have it. It's coming. It's on its way. It's gone off the bank account. And still, I was taking money and there was no money coming in. So that gap of the 3,000 rands that was spent that particular morning, I'm going to feel it later on in the month, because that money had its own responsibilities in the household, remember? So the thing that's for me, it's the biggest thing that happened, understanding that and accepting that this is impulsive buying. And actually me buying, when I went back, because now I'm a student, I understand things at a much deeper level. That okay, I buy this way because when I was 8 or 9, I was raised by my grandparents. So there were shops called Sales House. I don't know if you remember Sales House.
I remember Sales House. Wow, from like way back. Wow, yes.
So Sales House would send you, if you had an account at Sales House, they would send you a catalog with your account. So there was a catalog. My magas and my aunt, my mom's sister, had an account at Sales House. So she would take the bill and she would toss the catalog. I would get lost in that catalog for hours. In the middle page of the catalog, there was a form. So if you wanted to buy a shoe that was on page 1, labeled 1A, I would pretend like I had the money and fill out the form, right? And the same catalog had an envelope that you could, you didn't need a stamp. So you could make your purchase and send it on the post. And my magazine always, but she never stopped me doing it. She would find, because then when she goes to the shop, because they didn't deliver at home, so when she goes to the shop to do her payments, I would tell her her order is also ready. In this order, they would find clothes of 8-year-olds. I have made the purchase. She was picking it up and bringing it home. And then sometimes she managed it from the front of the shop and they didn't come to me. But the fact that I so much wanted to be able to afford all those clothes. And fast forward, as a working woman, I'm feeding that 8-year-old child with clothes I don't need, because it was ridiculous and embarrassing how much clothes I had. Lipsticks and all these things that I'm joking with, I mean, to you about, that was my reality, to say, what the hell am I doing with this? Why do I need this? I don't need. I would have this dress in red and yellow and black, same dress, because I could. I would have this for me, what has been really the biggest shift. So ever since joining the course,
it started from as a child. So to shift that, that's powerful. Yeah. So the next shift.
So the next shift has also been to talk about financial matters in my home. You know how I used to. I would buy things and hide them in there. You know where you put your spare wheel in the car?
Yeah.
That place, I would put clothes there and wait for my husband to go, take them out. And when I'm wearing them and he's like, oh, that's new. And I'm like, no, you don't know all my clothes. This is old. I bought this 7 months ago. And yet it's fresh from the shops, right? It was dishonest, man. It's dishonest. Truth be told, that was dishonest.
I'm so shocked. I'm shocked. I'm laughing, guys, from the shock.
I would buy clothes.
Wow. You know, I can't. I'm one of those people, like my family always says this. I'm one of those people, when you ask me a question, something in me makes me tell the truth. I don't know why. So the way I lie is through just not telling. If you haven't asked the question, then I can avoid it. But once you ask me a question, what comes out of my mouth, it can't be stopped. Everyone says that, like, it's a funny thing. Like, you know, when you go out to drinks, my friends always go like, Van, this is your name. If a guy comes up to you and we don't like them, this is your name. From like my teens, after a while, my friends were like, no, you're not allowed to talk. You can't say anything, because once you talk, everything comes out, the phone numbers, the names, the everything. I'm just like, I don't know why. So I'm like laughing because I'm like, how do you do that?
Yeah, so it was dishonest, and that has changed. Doesn't happen any longer, and I have peace of mind. I am happy with what is in my wardrobe. I am content, and there was 2 times now I have packed up clothes I don't need and I've given them away. I've done that, and it made me feel so good. It felt like a spiritual cleanse. It was more than just. So I have been able to do that. And the projects that we want to work through as a family, I mean, those opportunities come, and we're able to have relaxed conversations about money, you know, because I have attended to my dishonesty. I have dealt with it. Because then, even, you know, this black girl can mentality, and the fact that, because sometimes we use our socialization in manipulative ways, okay? And just because I was raised by women and I come from a family of strong women and I regard myself as a strong woman, that I must now openly talk about my finances with my husband was something unacceptable. I should not do that. You know, I had those.
And I mean, we say it, right? But they can kill you for money.
I know.
You don't want to trust them, these ones.
I know. And I think it's each to their own, really. But for me, the learning has really been, my husband has not been that freak that I had thought he was around money issues. He's not.
But obviously you were projecting, right? So you had your money issues that you were probably projecting onto him. And you're like, you know, and I find that once we start healing, we start realizing that actually, no, you know, like people were not the way that we thought they were about money. But and then you start asking yourself, where did you even get these ideas? That happened to me where I'm like, but why did I think like this about these poor people? Oh man. So my final question to you, Tabita, is what are the 3 lessons or meditations in the course that you think have impacted you and have been extremely powerful for you?
The inner child work. The inner child work. It always feels like starting from scratch. The inner child work for me is still work that I continue to do. I don't think it's work that I'll ever stop doing. Understanding that when I show up, I need to know what age mentally I am when I show up, and also catching myself when I'm projecting the inner child. Because like I'm saying, I mean, we are always healing the past, always. So I have accepted that, and I've also accepted that there was wounding that happened in my childhood that I'm healing. You know, it's not easy work. It takes me to memories I would rather not remember. But if I don't, because the one thing that I've learned is you have taught us to sit with that memory, acknowledge that it's here. Whatever it takes, don't deny that memory, don't deny that feeling. Sit with it, acknowledge it. And I think something magical happens when you are doing that. Because when you move...
You know, the magic is quite simple. You get to be, the feeling gets to be felt. So guys, our feelings just want to be felt. That's it. But the thing is, it's so uncomfortable to feel them, because it's one thing to feel a feeling intellectually in our heads, and it's another to feel it in the body and to be with it in the body. The feeling wants to be felt to the depths of the cells in the body. Once that happens, it's done. It's like a child that just wanted to be seen and acknowledged. Done.
And then there's the vows of invisibility. Oh my God. I didn't think girls like me have that, by the way. I thought we came ready, you know. You know when you get it ready and she has none of that.
Yeah, right? Like everyone looks at me now and they see the things that I do and they think that I've always been this person. I haven't, guys. Even when I'm writing, you know, I couldn't even write on Facebook, write a Facebook status before I started this work. Like I used to like boil up and be so anxious, just clicking on writing any status. I would think 5 times before sharing anything. Now look at me, I could care less. I show up on video, I write what I want. Takes like in any way, you guys have seen me in the student group cry on video, you know, like I've cried, I've like laughed, I've done all sorts of things. I've shown up in my swimwear, all sorts of things. These are things that I could not, like I couldn't when I started, because vows of invisibility. I am a product of my own work. I'm getting you guys to do and I think that's where the power lies, is that I've done work that I have seen work for me. And I mean, I come from like some crazy traumatic responses, you know, and like it worked for me. And so just to see you, look at you, you're out here relaxed, sharing your life story with us. Look how beautiful you are.
She's playing mind tricks on me. Why does she want me in a video? This woman, she really does not like peace. How can she do this to me? How? I had to sit with myself for many, many days. And it's worse that you asked early in the month, and I had so many weeks to go through and fix myself and psych my head. And I'm like, okay, only 3 days ago when did I settle into it. You say, Tabita, you are not going to cancel now. It's going to happen in 72 hours. It will happen. Schedule this. I mean, I had already scheduled it with you, but the preparation in my psyche that please just show up. She's not going to bite. She's just going to have a conversation and be honest. For me, I thought the best thing I can do for myself and for you and for everybody is to come up and be honest. Because I think that's the other thing I've learned with being a student in the course is that 1, you are very honest. Number 2, we're growing together somehow. You know,
there's no harm in people seeing us be vulnerable. In fact, I feel like this is what humanizes me to you guys, right? Like, you know, without a shadow of a doubt that I am not perfect. How you guys know I'm not perfect, you know? You've seen me like go all messy, ruin business deals, fall apart with things, like have drama with family. I'm not perfect, you know, but the beauty is in doing life in our imperfections.
Exactly.
That's what makes us beautiful, not because we're perfect.
Exactly. And you are holding us accountable in very loving, cushioned ways because you honestly it comes from self that let me probe this and look for more information. You are not spoon feeding any of us. We are not spoon fed in the Money Magic course. We are lovingly held accountable to ourselves. We are lovingly reminded to be authentic with ourselves, you know. So for me, that is the biggest takeaway to say. And also there's amongst us, we have some of us who are healers whom we can tap into their wisdom, which is what I've done. Yes, because how else would I have known where to find joy? How else?
Right? We've got joy in the course. Guys, we've got Joy is a Sangoma and a psychologist, right? Like, we've got all sorts of incredible students in the Money Magic course. So we've got people like Casey, who's a counselor, people who are able to teach us about sexuality and sex education with our kids. We've got Mizo, who's a doctor. We've got Dominique, who's a doctor. We've got like all these incredible humans, right? Like, because I say this is the beauty, I think, of the Money Magic course, is that it's not all on me. There's many questions that get asked, and I openly say this, right? Like, I'll openly tag people and say, I do not know the answer to this, but I have an opinion. Right?
Yes.
Like,
Yes.
I'll share my opinion and then I'll tag the expert, right? Because there's so many things, even things around tax, Putanang is tagged, all those things.
Oh, yes.
These are not my forte. And I think this is the beauty of this community, I think, is that where else are you going to find such a diverse group of knowledgeable individuals, most of them so held in high regard in their industries, right? And they know exactly what they're talking about. So when they answer questions around health, you're like, yes, I'm talking to a doctor now.
Exactly.
You know, when you talk to Joy and you're talking to a psychologist who's also a Sangoma, you hear it, you're like, yeah, okay, this is some weighty information out here, you know?
It feels orderly. It feels orderly.
It does. And I know for you, this is important, right? Because you're like, I need to talk to the experts. And I'm the same way. So, and I think people that are listening to this, you guys can rest assured, trust me, there's a lot of like incredible practical information. So Tabita, I know you have to go. So please, can you tell us, how can people get hold of you? What can people get hold of you around? Like, what is it that you're willing to discuss? Are you offering any kind of service as well? Let us know.
So I'm on Facebook, Tabita Ntuli on Facebook, same on Instagram. I'm not very, I don't post a lot on Instagram. I go there for the glam and the glitz. So I enjoy that too. So just
your
go there.
Former shopaholic is there, né? Like,
that's how my feed ends there. It starts and stops there, watching beautiful people on Instagram, but also reading other people's insight as well. But my passion, really, my heart right now is sitting with young women professionals. So I do have a handful of women who are professionals in the work in the world of work, whom I engage with on issues of how to navigate the work environment, especially the last 2-3 years, I've really been stuck on the agenda of abuse in the work environment, abuse of authority, the violation of rights of women, especially Black and brown women in the work environment. I speak against that comfortably in the space that I work in. It's extremely bureaucratic. They assume I'm abnormal. No one understands how I got there, but I'm there, and I call out things that don't make sense. Because I think then for us to shift anything in my country, I'm also extremely patriotic about South Africa. I'm very defensive. I
am too. Like, I'll only talk bad about South Africa to South Africans, but outside South Africa is the most beautiful country. I do believe it is the most beautiful country. So
absolutely,
this is not me making it up. And Cape Town is still my favorite city, and I do believe it's the most beautiful city in the world.
Yes.
I'm sorry, I do.
Yes,
maybe I'm being a little patriotic, but it is, for me, it's facts.
That's it. It's a fact for me. And also, if you come to my country and you're telling me that we have a very progressive constitution, very progressive policies, but our country is in the dumps, we know this. We know this ourselves. We don't need to be told by anyone. We will fix. There is nothing that's wrong in South Africa that South Africans can fix. I truly, truly believe that. In my heart of hearts, if you open it, I believe that. So when I engage with women,
I feel like South Africans keep proving that. Like, they will do whatever and then they'll fix it. They'll do I agree with that. Wow.
Yes. So those are the conversations I hold, and I'm passionate about, and I talk to young women and women of any age for that matter, and the struggles that we deal with in the work environment. And I use my own example, I think it's a video for another day to talk about my own experience in the work environment and how I have navigated those difficult terrains, how I continue to navigate those difficult terrains, and also how I think the course, what it has done, that has been amazing. and a gift that I appreciate deeply is the fact that I show up as me. I think I've shown up as myself, but hey, girl, this is premium grade showing up. Like, I will show up, that confidence, and knowing that I woke up, I've done the meditation, I've tapped into my spirit self, everything is okay. I can put on lipstick now. That's really secondary, and I'll show up. And I think that for it shows, it illuminates.
Yes, it does. I feel like everyone listening to this can see that. This is, guys, this is what happens when we start to heal our vows of invisibility. Being unapologetically ourselves becomes a thing, so yeah, this is a good way to segue into this. If you just want to be unapologetically yourself and you're ready to start healing your money trauma, start regulating your nervous system, then please look at the Money Magic course. If you're ready to start creating a consistent stream of income, cut back on debt, start saving, come through to the course. We'd love to have you. As you can hear from all the students that I interview in this on this podcast, they have so much to say. So you can go check it out. Check out the Money Magic course. Get on the waiting list if it's not open for registration. If it is open for registration, look at the top, the button at the top. There's a timer that tells you how many days are left for you to register for the course. When it gets to 000, that means you can't register for the course anymore. But you can register for the course at wealthy-money.com/moneymagic. Again, you can also get on the waiting list there. And when you're on the waiting list, you get access to my 7-day tapping into ancestral money wisdom course. Again, the course is at wealthy-money.com/moneymagic. wealthy-money.com/moneymagic. Thank you so much, Tabita, for this incredible interview. We so value what we've learned here. I'm saying we, it's me, my ancestors, my spirit guides, and I know all the listeners as well. And guys, thank you so much. If you've loved these podcasts and you love this podcast in particular, please go on iTunes, leave a 5-star rating, leave us a review, leave us comments on YouTube, and leave us comments on Podbean. Thank you so much, everyone. Thank you, Tabita. It was so lovely to have you. See you guys next week.